So we're sitting here in the Grand Canyon about to shoot back to Los Angeles, and right on my drive out, we're going to be hitting a helicopter tour. I saw right in my email an old video topic that I'd written back in 2013 when I was beginning to have epiphanies about how to create the perfect belief system. And this is something that I focused on maybe around a decade ago because I realized that a lot of my beliefs about the world were actually limiting me. And I was curious why I had these different limiting beliefs. Now, what is a limiting belief? Well, very simply, in many cases, you'll have beliefs about how the world works that are actually holding you back. And what's funny about them is that at one point, that belief might have helped you, but later it can hurt you. For example, maybe you got hurt by an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, and you're thinking, oh, all people are crap, relationships are crap. And at one point, that belief could actually help you from getting hurt, but at the same time, it's going to limit you because now maybe you're never going to have children or you're not going to have all the joys of a relationship. So at one point, the belief is helping you. At another point, the belief is limiting, right? Maybe you'll say, oh, it's just too hard to make money in this economy. And that helps you from feeling responsible for being broke so that you don't feel terrible about it. But then later on, maybe you could have the chance to make a lot of money. And because you had that limiting belief, it's holding you back from having a much, much better life.
I am where I am because I made it so. I have ways to deceive myself and bind my soul. I was waiting to be found, but found that on my own. If I looked for the truth, it led me home. With my own mistakes. The way out is the way in. Just rearrange the things you know. The way out is the way in. The trail will guide you back again. The way out is the way in. And now I'm almost home. The way out is the way. Some say where you are is where you're meant to be.
Around a decade ago, I started to ask myself, why is it that we have these limiting beliefs? And what are the implications that these limiting beliefs can have on us? And what could it mean if we could actually learn to change our beliefs to be the best beliefs possible, the most expansive beliefs possible? And what could we do to lay a foundation so that some of these beliefs that we might be a little bit afraid to take on, like say that we were, maybe just gonna stop being jaded for a minute or just stop being pessimistic for a minute. Well, what kind of foundation can we lay to get it to where we could adopt these more expansive beliefs and we're not gonna get burnt from it, right? Because that's the real fear. As soon as you say, wait a minute, maybe not all relationships are bad. Well, then you kind of put yourself out there a bit, boom, you get burnt. Or you think, maybe I could make a bit of money. And you kind of try it. Oh no, it's a path to fall, so boom, and you get burnt, right? So what kind of foundation can we lay so that then we have a very, very powerful foundation and then we can adopt the proper beliefs, basically like a mental software, a mental operating system that allows us to go to the top. So again, about 10 years ago, I wrote some notes on this, and these were just some crazy notes. I found them, and I just want to read them to you. I'm really, really psyched on them. So just check this out, like these old epiphanies that I had. So the first thing that I said was that in Eastern philosophy, they say that all beliefs will be proven false eventually. And I thought it was funny. I was focusing on Eastern philosophy a great deal around a decade ago. It was like really new to me at the time, or on the newer edge to me at the time. And so I was thinking a lot about that. What does it mean that all beliefs will be proven false eventually, right? Well, in the spiritual world, it's this idea that eventually we will all go back to the one. And all these beliefs about the world, they're ultimately just a mental map. And the map is never the territory, right? Like we can have a belief about the Grand Canyon right here. We can have a belief about it. And then say that you were to turn off the video and remember what the Grand Canyon looked like. Well, if you turn back on the video, it's going to appear different. You could even try that right now. Like right now, say that we look at the Grand Canyon. And what I want you to do is just quickly take a peek right now at how many of these kind of different pointed little areas there are. Okay, just take a quick peek at it. Do it right now. And then what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video and I want you to write underneath how many of these little pointed areas that you actually see right in the video, okay? Do it right now. Write how many little pointed kind of little mini mountaintops you see. Pause the video right now, write it underneath. Okay, we're back. So you wrote your little example underneath. Now what you could do is you can actually pause the video. I don't even know right now, but you can actually look and see approximately how many there were if you just count. This is the idea that at the time you'll think you'll know something, but you're not remembering it at the level that you really would think, right? Your memory is very, very shoddy, okay? We can make entire videos about how your memory is a lot more shoddy than you think. So your beliefs about the world will serve you at a certain point, but later they're holding you back. Now, the next thing that I wrote here in these notes, and again, I was just super psyched to find this, was that while I do personally believe that humans do have the ability to see aspects of the world objectively, I also believe that the map is not the territory and beliefs are a vehicle that can be upgraded at a different phase in your life. So what I was trying to say here, this was just dawning on me at the time, was that your belief system, it doesn't need to be rigid, it is actually a vehicle. Because we tend to think, no, I'm right about everything. And no, that belief system is just a vehicle. What it means is that just like you're driving down a hill, and maybe you're in a rough part of the hill, so you want to drive in a Jeep. Later, everything opens up. Maybe you want to drive in a Lamborghini, right? But in the rough parts, that Lamborghini is too close to the ground. It'll get banged up. You need the Jeep. So sometimes you need this certain belief vehicle that'll help you to kind of go through these hard parts of your life. But later, you got to get rid of it, okay? It's like a knot in your back that kind of tightened up to support your arm when you were too tense, or to kind of absorb stress when you're too tense. Later, you're going to have to massage out the knot, and then you can be your optimal self, okay? You're going to have to massage it out. So many of these beliefs, they're like knots. They're like mental knots. You've got to massage these out. It's going to hurt. So that was the next thing that I realized. And here was the big epiphany that I took at it. The best beliefs vehicle for you at any given time is auto-detected by your unconscious mind. And what your unconscious mind is looking at, what I said here, I called it brain plus lane. Okay, let me say that again. Brain plus lane. Now here's what I mean by brain, here's what I mean by lane. By brain, I mean and I'll explain each of these, your willpower, which is your prefrontal cortex, your PFC, your emotional balance, the complexity of truth that your mind can process, and the level of uncertainty and ambiguity that your mind can accept. What do I mean by each of these? Well, our prefrontal cortex is the part of the mind that is the willpower part of the mind, right? And believe it or not, this is actually limited day to day. And you can grow your willpower, and you can also shrink your willpower just based on how much you use it. So for example, if you're sitting at a restaurant, let's say you're on a diet where you're not going to eat bread, and then the waiter brings bread to the table. For every second that you're not just letting yourself go into kind of that nice autopilot, just stuff down the bread, you're actually burning your willpower for the day. So an intelligent thing to do, by the way, but this is really for a separate video topic, is to actually structure your day where you don't need to be burning willpower. You make it very, very easy to go through your day, not burning willpower, but you also want to be constantly strengthening your willpower. What is that? They would say that's your PFC, your prefrontal cortex. Next up, we also have that aspect of emotional balance. Are you somebody who can take the emotional ups and downs, or do you get thrown off very easily, right? And again, your brain is detecting this. How much your brain is auto-detecting when it's choosing your beliefs, how much willpower you have, and how much emotional balance you have. Likewise, your brain is also looking at the complexity of truth that your mind can process. Can your mind handle complex truths, or does it need simple truths? For example, when you read the Bible, I love reading the Bible, and when you read the Bible, you can see it as just like a straight history. This is exactly what happened, word for word. Or you can take it as these incredibly powerful metaphors that are speaking to you on this entirely different level, and that are communicating to different parts of you that you don't even understand, right? And so people get in little arguments about that. But again, it's to what extent could your mind process complexity? And I would really respect that everybody has their own view of that. And again, we're all in a set of beliefs and a belief vehicle that works for us at the time, right? But see, as far as understanding the different complexities of things, we could think of something like, say, we're going to go to heaven as it's like a big party up in the clouds with the dude with the big beard, right? It's like some guy that kind of looks like me with the big beard, but wider and longer in a robe, and we're all chilling. Or you could think of it as something maybe more complex. Maybe a certain part of your consciousness merges back into the whole, and that could be heaven. And what would all of that mean, right? It's a little bit more complex. It's harder to understand. So if your mind is not capable of understanding something highly complex, then the party in heaven is like, that's the go-to. We're going to the party in heaven. It's literally just like that same party you had on your birthday. There's cake. You're in that perfect age. Who knows what age that is, right? Are you 5? Are you 30? Are you 90? It's whatever age you wanted. It's whatever perfect party you wanted. And it just doesn't end. It's in the clouds with the big dude with the beard, right? It's a simple way of seeing it. with your family. Beautiful, right? A more complex way, it's a little bit more frightening, frankly, is to envision, it's to get us an intuitive sense of the energies in the world and seeing which parts of yourself are more real and imagining which part of yourself would continue and merge back into the whole, right? That's a little bit more complex. So the extent with which you'd read even something as simple as, say, or not simple by any means actually, but something like a religious text, that's going to depend, your beliefs about it are going to depend on the degree of complexity that you can really process, okay? And lastly, what I said about the brain is the degree of ambiguity and uncertainty that you can handle. So for example, if you look at, say, creating a business, you know, there's a lot of ambiguity and uncertainty, right? Like a lot of my staff will come to me. I've got my team here, some of my team here, you know, and they might say things to me like, okay, so like, if we do like everything right like this, like, it's all going to be good, right? And I'm like, for sure, right? For sure. But in reality, if you're an entrepreneur, you know very well that you could do everything right. You could hit a stroke of bad luck and it just sucks. That's just life. I'm about to go do a helicopter tour of the Grand Canyon before I leave here, and I know very well that I can pick the safest helicopter possible, but that doesn't mean that helicopter couldn't crash. It absolutely can happen to my hero, Kobe Bryant, could happen to anybody, and it's the extent to which you can live with that ambiguity and uncertainty. Again, that is the extent to which your brain is able to take on a more complex or expansive set of beliefs, okay? So that's kind of how I said your brain is auto-detecting where you are in those areas to decide how expansive the belief system that you can have will be. Now, the other one that we talked about was I said your lane, because I said your belief system is brain plus lane. Now, lane is your status and your abilities that you've built up over a lifetime of oftentimes arbitrary experience and what you perceive that you can gain by taking that lane. So for example, let's say that I present to you something very powerful about entrepreneurship. It's very complex. And you think to yourself, well, you know, I have the status to pull that off. And I have a life situation where I could even put that to use. Like, I'm in a situation in my life where there's a lane there that I could even use that. Well, now all of a sudden, if your brain is able to auto-detect that it's a very, very powerful brain, and then you see that you have the status and kind of the different life circumstance or different skills that you just perhaps happen to have stumbled into throughout your life, now all of a sudden your brain is like, oh, I like that belief vehicle. You see what I'm saying here? I like that belief vehicle. Very, very powerful right there. So again, like we said here, your belief system is going to be brain plus lane. Your brain is actually auto-detecting this. And so you might remember back to that book, The Brave New World, and how each person was at a different level of status, right? You had, I think it was like the alphas and betas, deltas, epsilon, something like that. And each person would say, I love being an alpha. I don't want to be like one of those janitors, or, you know, the janitor class would be like, oh, I love being the delta, whatever it was. I can't remember at this point. You know what? I would never want all that responsibility. That would suck, right? So the book, The Brave New World, it actually alludes to that. Also allude to many different things that are actually happening in our society right now. Be a great time to reread 1984, reread Brave New World, because we see what's happening in the world right now. But that being said, this idea of everybody's at a certain level and will find a way to rationalize it, again, a very, very powerful metaphor for this idea of brain plus lane, okay? For example, somebody at a lower level, if you remember, they would take the soma, right? They would take drugs. Drugs is the perfect thing to take for when you have very little ability to build a great life, you have very little ability to process ambiguity or complexities, and, like, let's be real here. If there's not a lot of, like, if by having the full power of your brain, and you know, you've lived your whole life sober, and your brain's just firing on all cylinders, if that would actually help you to make millions of more dollars, to get to travel the world, to do cool things, to hang out with your celebrity crush or whatever it is, if all that would happen from you staying sober, it's easy to stay sober. Let's say, for example, working hard. If you working hard means that you could have this amazing life. If you building your willpower means you could have this amazing life, there's a lane there, and your brain can auto-detect, I've got the mental firepower to use this. It's so easy not to want to go get high. I always knew I wanted to live an amazing and diverse life. I always knew I wanted to push my mind to the furthest limit I could. I always knew I wanted to be one of the top public speakers of all time. So because of that, like, people will say to me, well, how come you're not partying? Oh, let's do a bump. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. Take your bump, and I'll take me vacationing and flying through the air in the Grand Canyon. Well, you could do both, right? Cool. Try getting that much success, or try being at an elite level skill set when your brain has been messed up. Go look up Dr. Amen, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. He does brain scans of what happens. Okay, I know that you probably heard other things that are getting popular online. Just go look up the brain scans, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, and you can decide what you want to do. So you see what I'm getting at here, which is that your brain will auto-detect where you're at, and it will make a decision on the complexities of the belief system that you want to have, how expansive it is, or how contracted it is. Now, I've seen this for many years, even whenever I'm talking to people about taking a seminar. When I'm trying to convince someone into taking a seminar, You'd think that I've got to show them that the seminar is high quality, right? You'd think the main thing that I need to persuade you of, say to take online mentoring with me or do a seminar with me, I've got to show you that it's high quality. Well, funny enough, even ask yourself right now, if you've ever thought of taking mentoring with me or a seminar with me or an in-field workshop with me, if you've ever thought of that, if you've watched my videos and you see the quality of them and say that you like them and you resonate with them, you're probably fairly confident that the quality of my proper program or my proper product is probably about 100 to 1,000 times higher than anything I'm giving away for free on YouTube. So you know you could benefit. But in truth, I bet that the main objection that you have is not whether or not you believe that it would be amazingly high quality. I bet you that the objection that you have is that you're worried that there might not be a lane for you to implement it. Or you could be worried that you just don't have the mental firepower to stay focused on what it is that I would teach you. Whenever I've taught somebody in these really high pressure environments, I have taught people in really, really high pressure environments, the highest pressure you'd ever seen, right? I'm not just one of these seminar speakers hiding up on the seminar with my little suit on, just like looking like a guru, right? I'm out there, elbows in the mud, right in the field, teaching people live, high stress, pushing on all their insecurities, and a big chunk of what it is that I have to show someone what I'm teaching them live is, hey, you know what? This is hard. I get it. But guess what? You can do this. You can absolutely do this, right? Because let's say that we're out learning social skills and maybe they take a little bumper rejection here or there. Let's say that their mind can't handle the rejection. I can't take the rejection. It doesn't feel good. My prefrontal cortex can't summon the willpower to go and meet new people and initiate conversations. And when I get rejected, my brain just takes over with cortisol. I'm not in control of my brain. Ah, right? Which is, by the way, as much as we're mocking that, 99.9% of people. So when I'm trying to get you to actually build your social skills, I've got to get you, first of all, to even believe that a program like that could help you. And then on the program, I've got to be like, hey, you got this, you got this. And then I've got to actually show you how to take control of your brain. I've got to show you secrets and tricks around that to take control, to use that little bit of prefrontal cortex and willpower that you have. I've got to show you how to implement that and utilize that, and then show you that, hey, if you stick with this, the results could be awesome. Now, if I can convince you in that, you will be thanking me for the rest of your life, because what I've done is I've motivated you and I've spurred you into taking massive action. So as a teacher, that's a huge goal of mine. Now, how would that relate in what we see in society today? Like we said, you know, you can read 1984, Brave New World. We see where the world is going. Well, in many cases, let's say somebody is feeling really bad. They feel like they could never make money. And then maybe some powerful, strong person comes and says, you know what? If we all band together, we can take the money from the rich people and we can share it amongst ourselves. The only reason they're rich is because they took the production. Ho, 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 right? Maybe they read a book from a dude with a beard a little bigger than mine, you know, Mr. Marky Mark, right? Maybe they read that. Well, if some big, strong person comes and says, hey, let me lead you for that. If that person realizes, I don't really know how to start a business, and I don't know if I could ever make money or compete in the modern economy, but hey, maybe the reason why I'm not rich is it's because those other business owners were unethical, right? Very simple way of putting it, not all the complexities of building a business. They were unethical. And we can get together, we can take it now, right? Then they go, you know, some big, I mean, I think that the highest amount of human death in the past century was literally just collectivism and people just banding together and then purging everybody, right? You know, you got the old guillotine out and whatnot. So basically what you have is that somebody who's in a lower level lane, if they start to believe that, somebody who's very persuasive, some strong person can come along, rally everybody up, froth them up, and make them believe this is the lane. This is the lane. You know what? You want to know why you're not successful? It's not your fault. It's those rich people. They're unethical. You're more ethical. You deserve this. Let's band together and just go mess up a bunch of people, get the guillotine out, and then we'll take over everything. But of course, what happens in the end is that in a free society, what you have is while there is to some extent, there's monopolies and things, a lot of bad stuff in free societies, by the way. But nonetheless, at least it's dispersing the power amongst many people. So the power's not all with one person. Then you get all that power under one person, and then they put their boot down on the face of everybody once they've taken over, right? Now you've got one person leading everything, controlling everybody, and now you have authoritarianism. It's really bad. I mean, we're at a point now where even, you know, me saying this 10 years ago, everybody be like, yay. Now people are like, wait, isn't that good? I thought that's what we want now. You know, like literally people in power, like even hosting this video could be like, no, we like that. It's for safety. And for fairness, right? You know, stuff like that. But again, think about this for a minute. What's happening in our society right now? What's happening is that a lot of people are feeling disenfranchised. They don't see a lane. They don't see how they could be successful in a modern economy. So it's a lot easier to simply say, it's not my fault, it's their fault. And we'll just take it. That's the way. all the wealth will still be there. We'll just share it around. Awesome, right? Not realizing the cancer that's going to cause in the society which they live in. They're going to tear it all down. It's like a cancer cell. It's eating until the host is dead. So they don't get that. They don't understand the idea of systems, the idea that entrepreneurship and businesses are living systems, that there's complex understandings that need to be acquired in order to run things like that. They don't see all those details. They just see things as being simple. And let me tell you something. If you have not made the decision to start to take on a little bit of a more challenging or expansive set of beliefs and maybe push your mind to build that willpower, to deal with ambiguity, to build your prefrontal cortex and so on and so forth, you may wind up becoming part of the problem. So a big thing that in my view in our society that we're going to have to do to avoid that 1984 Brave New World reality is we've got to get it to where we actually reach out to people that are struggling more. And this is going to be something I'm going to be doing a lot in my older age, is reaching out to people that are struggling and say, hey, the answer to this is not just blame everybody else. The answer to this is self-accountability, but let me help you. Let me show you the way. Let me help you to compete. Let me show you about systems. You know that stuff they didn't show you in grade school? I'm sorry that they didn't. You know that food they fed you? It actually shut your brain down. Remember we said it's brain plus lane? Hard to have a powerful prefrontal cortex when you've been eating processed foods, and dumb little stupid solutions like the one I just criticized become very appealing when you've been eating a lot of processed foods, drinking booze, smoking down blunts. Your brain don't work, right? So we've got to be showing that. That'll be a huge thing that if I'm blessed to live a long life, I want to get out there and show people, no, upgrade your beliefs, upgrade your sense of the world, upgrade your mind, okay? Brain plus lane. I got to show you how to strengthen your brain the same way I would have showed you that to build social skills, not to become some hater. I got to also show you where the lanes are, and that's going to be my job, okay? We're in this together. Just roll with me here for a minute, just like how I'd show you at a live social skills training. I'll show you this online. I'd love to even show you this in my personal mentoring. Now, funny enough, we mentioned social skills training. Let's look at some belief systems there. I remember back in the day when I was younger, because I couldn't meet or date someone, if I found out that anyone who I thought was attractive had gone out and been intimate with someone, I would slut shame them. They're a slut. I wouldn't want to meet someone like that, right? Why? Because I felt like I wasn't invited to the party. You'll notice it's the same thing with the wealth thing, right? People who feel like they're not invited to the wealth party will start to blame everybody else and try to kind of just take things over. With collectivism, it gets really scary, okay? And by the way, I'm if you're curious, I'm more of a centrist. I believe in both sides. I just when one side goes a little too far, I'm like, come on, guys, let me get back around to the center. Thanks, okay? That's me. Feel free to make your own opinion. We can still be friends. Don't worry about that. So we see the same thing as far as being successful with dating or attraction and things like that, right? Where when I was younger, if I saw somebody having a little fun, maybe there was someone I really liked at my college and I saw them going home with some, the head of the football team or something. And I'd say, oh, and I'd start slut shaming. Why? It's easier to do that. Oh, I wouldn't even want to do that. When in reality, look, if you want to be chaste and not hook up with anybody, great. I think that could be amazing. But do so because you've actually chosen to do so. Because what I find is that the person who basically is celibate because they don't know how to not be celibate, it's like they just don't know how to do anything else. They don't have the skills to go meet someone new. They don't have social skills. They don't know how to connect to other people and build that amazing connection. They don't know how. What winds up happening is they become really creepy and opportunistic. That same person that shames everybody for being out there having a little fun is that same weirdo kind of grabbing at somebody on the subway. like, no, you shouldn't have any fun. Someone walks by. Ah! Who did that? Probably one of those bad people, right? That's what you see. It's the same thing. The people are saying, oh, don't make money. Then the second they get the chance, they whip out the guillotine and they start taking the money, right? So what I'm just saying here is you want to get congruent to what it is that you really want. If you don't just take some simplistic level of belief like anyone who makes money is unethical, anyone that has a little fun is a slut, or things like that. Don't take that mindset. Instead, say to yourself, look, while there may be some truth in there's a lot of truth in almost any idea, frankly. At the same time, you owe it to yourself to build up your brain and to find those lanes and then to create those belief systems and you know what? To live a life of your dreams. So I've thrown a lot of information at you here, and here's the main takeaway in my personal view. human beings, we've evolved from this huge chain of other species. I don't even know which one it was, but let's just say in theory, and I'm just kind of making this up right now, at one point we were like cockroaches. Then maybe we evolved into a squirrel. Then maybe we evolved into a wolf, into a lion, into a monkey, into a Neanderthal, into a human, which I totally botched that, by the way. Anybody who knows about evolution laughing at me. But you see my point, right? So let's just say, to be clear here, that human beings, we've been evolving for a long time, and in many ways, it's almost like we have sort of an animation of that in all of us, right? Like you can choose to be the human being who's a cockroach. You can choose to be a human being who's the powerful lion, right? Which of course we could probably find out things about lions that generally speaking, animals get branded, right? Like a lot of times these bad animals in Disney movie, they're actually beautiful animals and the good ones are bad. But you know my point, right? Let's just go by the stereotype. You could be this beautiful, powerful lion, this graceful killer whale, or this amazingly legendary blue whale, right? Or you could be some little hyena kind of cackling like, right? And you know that you felt that different energy from different people, haven't you? You have. I know that you have. You have felt that different energy from different people. Some people, they have a grace about them, a power about them, an expansiveness about them. It's just so beautiful. And others honestly seem like a human hyena. And what I would say about this is it comes down to expansion or contraction, okay? And so, in other words, I gave that creepy example, someone who say like, grab someone's butt in the subway. They do that because there's many reasons, okay? But as a simple example, simple analysis, they do that because they believe that they would never get to make friends with that person. They're disenfranchised. They believe that if they were to talk to them in a cool way, they could never date them or make friends with them. Likewise, here's a really big one with expansion and contraction. You see a celebrity and you're like, oh, let me get a photo. Oh, yeah, let me get a photo. No, not photo. Why don't you make friends with them? If you see your celebrity crush, why don't you date your celebrity crush? If you see some celebrity who you like, why aren't you making friends with them? You can. But the reason that you want the photo is because you say, I'm just going to get a little bit of value that I can. I just want to get the little bit of value that I can, right? In many ways, when you say, oh, that person who's having fun is a slut, or that rich person is unethical, which can be true, to be fair, there's certainly examples of it, but the fact that you default to that, why are you doing that? Because human beings, we have a confidence preservation mechanism. We need to feel that we're a little bit above people. We need to feel a little bit justified. So what happens is just that ego kick of feeling like you're morally superior to another person, because you're not one of those unethical people that makes money, right? You're morally superior because you're not having fun dating, right? You're morally superior. Doesn't mean that you couldn't be right. Doesn't mean that it's all wrong. But you know my point. It depends where it's coming from, okay? I actually met Justin Bieber at the spa once, right? You know what Justin Bieber said? He said, you know what? I want to get married. I'm sick of him being out there hooking up. He wound up getting married. When Justin Bieber said it, I believed it, okay? That wasn't him just like not knowing how to meet people. He meant it. That's very, very different from that person who has no social skills saying, slut, ho, and all that kind of stuff, who's just slut shaming as a way to feel above them, right? Moral superiority is the go-to way to feel above people and frankly to oftentimes justify really bad behavior like theft or being creepy or so on and so forth. And so that's what I'm getting at here. I don't want you to be incongruent. It's not even about me saying, oh, just be a good little boy or girl. It's not even about that. It's that when you get like that, you're ultimately the person who suffers even more than the person you hurt, right? Like in a weird way, when some creeper grabs someone's butt in the subway, yeah, the person who got their butt grabbed is creeped out and victimized. You know who else is victimized? The person who did it for having to live in that creepy world. Also, simple example that I'm on the receiving end. A lot of time people, they'll see that I have a high search volume on YouTube. I actually have a really high search volume on YouTube. If you look up all the different ways that I've named my company names, it's pretty crazy. Bigger than even some of the biggest self-help teachers. Totally insane. Really flattered by that. Okay, I've worked YouTube a long time. So people say I have really high search volume. And so they have a decision to make. If I make a video where I click on Owen's name and then I get that ranking in the search engine so I can kind of siphon off some of his traffic, do I want to make one that's complimentary, saying something positive, or do I want to make the real bad secret revealed so that way they can kind of stir the pot a little bit and get a couple extra views? When I see that, I feel bad for them because I say to myself, why don't you want to be on stage with me crushing some kick-ass event instead of getting a couple cheap views? I literally think that to myself. To be fair, maybe they believe what they're saying. But you know my point here, right? Some people say to me, how come you never crap talk Eckhart Tolle or Tony Robbins? Because I want to be friends with those people, right? Why would I go get a little bit of easy traffic when I want them to be my friends? So if you believe that there's a lane there and that you could make friends with certain people or that you could wind up being colleagues or peers with certain people, it's very obvious that you're going to want to take the more expansive route, which maybe you don't get that kind of easy win, like a couple quick little video views, but what winds up happening is you wind up making friends with these people, right? Wouldn't you rather date your celebrity crush and get a photo? Wouldn't you rather actually have a nice time maybe having a relationship with that attractive person you saw on the subway instead of grabbing their butt. Well, that same idea of being kind of contracted and going for the easy win, like I said, that correlates to like, are you the powerful lion or the little hyena? Are you that person who builds that amazing business or that person that just gets mad about it, wants to get out the guillotine and blame everybody but yourself? You see what I'm getting at here? And again, every single belief system, it's going to have an element of truth in it, okay? There is an element of truth in each belief system. The person who says they're a slut or a hoe, they're probably not entirely wrong. The person says, oh, the business owner's unethical, they're probably not 100% wrong. But again, like I said, it's the difference between the Justin Bieber saying, I don't want to hook up, and just someone who doesn't know how. So for any belief that you have, the simple thing that I'd say to you right now is ask yourself a very simple question. Are you limited in your belief because of the fact that it's an honest assessment? Or is it that you just don't know how to do any better and you're trying to keep that confidence preservation mechanism so that you don't feel insane, okay? The main key here, the confidence preservation mechanism, it always seeks to put people below itself, usually using moral superiority in some way, because you lack the confidence and you're trying to get that dopamine spike comparatively, right? This is even why I teach really, really powerful concepts like the collaborative frame versus the competitive frame. I'll put a link to it here in the video, because the competitive frame is too simple. It's like, oh, I'm against this person and they're against me and I got to be better than them. Why don't we say we're all one, right? We're all one. We're all one big family. We're all part of that same beautiful life-giving source. But again, that's more complex. It's a little bit more difficult to actually internalize that collaborative frame, something very, very complicated. So you see the main idea here, right? Main idea being, anytime that you have a belief, ask yourself, is it a contracted belief or an expansive belief? And what contracted need is it serving now? Like, say you've got all this stress and it just dumps in your back, you create a knot. And what would it mean to kind of massage that out, let it out, massage it out? Might hurt a little bit to let go of the belief. You might even lose some dopamine, right? It's like, you go up to some big cliff and then you got to go down to go to the next cliff, right? You think you're at the top of the cliff, you find out there's some other bigger cliff over there, right? So it hurts when you let go of a belief. But then when you actually take on that better belief, it's even more powerful. With this, I'm going to give you some specific instructions. Like I said, the first one, anytime that you have a belief, I want you to question it about whether it's just serving the purpose of preserving your confidence and to allow you to think in a more simple way so you don't get overwhelmed, or is it the ideal belief? That's number one. But here's the other one. Anytime that you can put food in your body that gets your brain to be stronger, do it. Anytime that you can undertake a task that would challenge you and build your willpower, do it. Anytime that you could look at something more complex and it's a little bit difficult to understand and it's a little bit rough going, but you say, you know what? I'm going to learn how to expand my mind by understanding something more complex, do it. Anytime that you can actually feel a bad emotion in you, right? You're under stress, you feel a bad emotion, say to yourself, this is the emotional gym. This is my big opportunity. It's an emotional gym, okay? Say you're locked out of your house, right? You're so peeved. You're locked out of your house, right? You can start kicking the wall and bemoaning your situation. Or you know what else you could do? You could say to yourself, hey, this is that moment for the emotional gym, and just let it go. Release it. You know what's amazing? When you release stress, it's almost like you get a little mini enlightenment. Do that, right? And then keep looking for lanes. Keep exploring. Don't just get stuck in some contracted little thing. You got to pull out of it, right? Now, I get it. Maybe you're in a day-to-day grind. You got your commute to work. The work is spiritually deadening. It's boring. You get home. All you got the patience and willpower for is to smoke a blunt, play some video games, and pass out. Most of the world lives this way. You got to fight it. Okay? You got to fight it. You got to push through and look for different lanes. Keep exploring different lanes. Keep looking at some of the belief systems of people doing better than you. And yes, it could be some corrupted liberal elite. And believe me, I live in LA and I meet plenty of those. And that is real. But you know what? There's also a lot of high-level people that frankly have great beliefs that are very well honed. Okay? And they put a lot of thought into them. So that's your task. That's your homework. That's your practical advice. And what I'd leave you with is keep rolling with me here, okay? Keep rolling with me, because I know that there's many doubts that you have. I know that you're afraid of that path of false hope, okay? But if you look at the lowest people, like find these back corners of the internet with like internet trolls and skeptics and people that are just cynical, find them, right? And they're super contracted. Why are they internet trolls? A, because maybe a little fun, right? Some trolling can be fun. Even trolling on myself, I can laugh with it. But some of it, to be fair, when they're just addicted to it, it's just them going, dopamine spike, dopamine spike, dopamine spike, right? They're just going, talk crap, insult, talk crap, get attention, clickbait, right? Things like that. And they're doing that because they're contracted, right? At the furthest depths, scary corners of the internet, it's usually criticizing people who are attractive, you know, like these tabloids that just rip on people that are successful, criticizing people that are attractive, criticizing people having fun, ripping on everybody, just getting dopamine spike, pessimism, cynical, because they're so contracted that gets them that little feeling of confidence. They can feel better than someone for a minute. They get a little dopamine spike and they feel like it's not their fault. Don't settle for that. Don't settle for things being not your fault. At least give a real fair exploration to any expansive idea that you see that could benefit you, okay? So I'm gonna keep rocking with you, and I know because I felt the same thing. I was one of those people talking crap, so I get it. That's why I don't give up on you, because I know how good this could get. So roll with me. We're in this together. We're not just a community, we're a family. I love you very much. I've got your back. I'm sitting here sharing this with you with great faith in you. Sometimes all it takes is for one person to believe in you. And I believe in you. I'm out here doing it because I do. So I'm going to go shoot out on a helicopter ride right now. And wish me a fun day. We'll get a little bit of it in there. And that's my version of expansion. Just being out here, living life, enjoying it. And I want to share that with you too. Peace.